Oh, hey B, how are you?
How you doing?
Yeah, we're just gonna nip this bud right in the butt, right at the top here. Nip it in the bud at the beginning here.
Yes.
B obviously is having a couple little technical difficulties, so if you see them popping on or duplicate and take over the entire screen like minions from Despicable Me or something like that, we have no idea what's going on. We're not gonna pretend to be savvy tech people, so if you were expecting pros, we apologize once more. That said, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Good.
Looking for
And there we go. I would imagine you're saying looking forward to tonight because we are sitting with Titty Bean toys, and I know B has an insane collection of Titty Bean toys work. They were one of the patrons on there for a while. Hey, look at that! Now we've got two Bs. I'm not even gonna remove them. We're just gonna slowly just keep on adding more Bs to the screen until it's insane, you know? Um, but yeah, man, nipple in the butt. Ooh, cool cat. Either you've got to have either a very tiny butt or some really long nipples. That's some imagery I'm trying to put together here. That said, before we get too carried away, the homies in the chat, Jazz Wizard, Fuck Toys, Cool Cat Toys Co., Toys and Tits, Folklorian, what is going on? Yuppie Bombs for all, Mr. Ordinary Toys, what is going on? Bound to be a banger. We need a bootleg Toy Co. I didn't even mean to see that. I saw what you just did. Ah, you froze anyways. See, this guy thought he was so cool removing the frozen version of himself, and the program we used said, "Fuck you, you don't get to do that. We're gonna make as many copies of you as we want." But I mean, to be honest with you, if we had to have a bunch of copies of anybody on the screen, I'd rather it be B. Right? I'm with Bootleg Toyco. More B's, more B's, more B's. Jeez Louise, that poor guy. But yes, and I'm sure most of you have also added some Titty Bean toys to your collection as well. We're super stoked that they're actually joining us tonight because as we were talking about, they're in Melbourne, so of course most of you know they're probably like 13 to 15 hours difference from us. Also, did you guys know this? I feel like this is something that's like common knowledge for everybody, but somehow took me into my 30s to figure out. I didn't realize they've got like reverse fucking seasons to us too. Our summer is their winter, and so like when we're celebrating Christmas and we're seeing snow, they don't know that they get snow on the ground anyways. But yeah, I had no idea that all of that is also reversed. They're celebrating Christmas in the summer. I mean, there's no snow ever anyways, but that's what we're gonna talk about tonight. Fuck toys. Oddities of Australia. That's what this whole entire evening will be about. No, but honestly, super stoked on this one. If any of you joined the toy scene back around that COVID time, 2018, Titty Bean was probably one of the top SEO, search engine optimization accounts out there. Many individuals I would interview back in the day would say that when they first got into bootlegging toys, they would search it up and all of a sudden Titty Bean would be one of the first ones that would end up popping up there. Looks like Titty Bean has actually gone from the waiting room down below as well, so you might all just be stuck with me this evening. I mean, that just might be what we're going to be doing. Not that that was ever the intent whatsoever, but I think with the Titty Bean collection, what kind of caught a lot of our eyes is it happened to be right around the same time as reverse toilet and the boot, around the same time of Super 7 coming out with all of their figures, and we saw Titty do something kind of interesting. We talked a little bit about this last week. Hey, Bliss Receptor, what's going on? Hey, B, welcome back. So one of the things we were kind of talking about last week that Titty ended up doing with those figures is they would kind of adapt them, and probably one of the best examples, you've got like the Super
Hmm.
7 Frankenstein, but with the Terminator double casted inside of that. And even with, sorry about that, Titty. Yeah, StreamYard froze up for you as well. Seems like StreamYard's having a hard time tonight. We like it
Hmm.
hard though.
Hmm.
B says. And then, yeah, admittedly, they would always adapt on those figures. So even with like their Frankenstein figure, of course, one of the bigger ones that was kind of like a uh, um, trademark figure for them for a while is, of course, the Frankenstalker. And just that switching up. Oh, B, you're looking like you're really enjoying it hard. That switching up of the head swaps. That, of course, some people were making their figures able to do those head swaps. I think that was the first time we had somebody putting out figures where the head swaps made a brand new character. It kind of seemed like an evolution phase of that character. I'm surprised you haven't just fucking thrown that laptop across the room at this point, man. I'd have lost my shit, dog.
What, what what can I say? What can I say? We're rolling with it, man. I
Oh
I
man.
legit think I don't know what the deal is, man. I think it's definitely with the website. It's definitely going to happen again, and it's probably going to keep on happening. I don't know what's
What's
going on,
trippy
dude.
to me
I've
is
updated.
how come mine's so fluid? Like the fact Titties had an issue with it, you had an issue with it. I'm sitting here wondering what the fuck's so special about my internet. Duh, and there he is again. If anybody in the chat, if you're actually sitting there being like, "No, Crumbs, you're a smart aleck, you're not moving," just let me know. I'll fucking remove myself from the screen too, and then we'll get this show on the road. Hey, there we go. See, you're no fun. You remove the versions of you every time.
Sorry.
That's okay.
How you doing?
You want to try? You want to try and get anything out before you get kicked off again?
No, because it's going to happen right in the middle of me saying something. How are you doing? Doing
I am
good?
so sorry, bro. I am so sorry. It's got to be so frustrating. I'm really hoping when Titty Bean pops in here, they don't end up suffering the same fate that you're suffering.
Fuck, I hope not. I hope not,
Right?
man. What's up, everybody? Man, uh,
Yeah, he was probably gonna say hi to all the homies in the chat there. Another fun thing that I've learned, and maybe I'm wrong. This might not be a real thing, so Titty will have to let us know. But I don't know about you Americans. I always say Adidas, Adidas, Adidas. The fuck's this Adidas shit? Again, Titty will be the pro on it because usually they're decked out in full Adidas wear. But yeah, we're learning. We're learning not just about toys, about a lovely little place called Australia too. Titty, seeing as B is like struggling along here anyways, you want to pop on in, let these homies know who you are, man? Sick. What is up? Titty Bean Toys, how are you, man?
Yo, what's happening? I do have my Adidas tracksuit pants on. Adidas, Adidas. It's fucking Adidas, man. Well, it is like when you're in Australia, because like if you say Adidas, it just clearly shows you are not from Australia. Definitely not from Melbourne. I'll say that. I don't know. I actually can't speak for other states. Maybe Melbourne's like the only place that calls it Adidas. But yeah, I think that's just the cultural thing between countries. I also get why people call it Adidas, but it's just like, oh no, it's Adidas. But I also love just your pronunciation of it, Crumbs. Like it was fucking spot on. Like it was
Oh,
Adidas.
See, you've never called any of us out on any of this. You just roll with it. You've just been like, oh, yeah, for some reason they all call it Adidas. Whatever, fine. But
Yeah, look, I don't know if I want to be an authority because, like, what if someone like turns around and proves that I'm actually the one that's wrong and everyone else in the world is the one that says it right? So I'm just kind of like leave it a bit open, leave it a bit of ambiguity there. What's going on?
ambiguity, that's a big word for us and our listeners. Before we get carried away, man, I'm sure everybody knows at this point, but I'm going to give you a full screen for a second just to introduce yourself and say a little hi to the homies and let them know who you are, what you do.
Hey dudes, it's Sam from Tiddy Bean Toys. So resin toy maker, but now I guess a bit of a vinyl dude as well. So yeah, based in Melbourne, Australia, and have been making since 2020, but been a massive toy nerd for like, I don't know, 39 years now, I guess. Yeah, that's me. Thanks, Crumbs. Hope everyone's doing well.
You're smooth with it, man. I don't know if it's just because you've done so many of these interviews before or you're just a fly guy, but yeah, you're just smooth with it, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. I do. I guess part of my day job is like sitting in care team meetings. So like doing a little introduction of like your role, who you are, and that sort of thing is pretty sort of standard. So if at any point I slip into start talking about like youth, drug, and alcohol issues, I've clearly like switched
Oh no.
my brain. But yeah, kind of roll through those things. Oh, B's back.
Hey, there it is. Now, Titty Man, we're just gonna jump right into it because obviously you've just put out a brand new vinyl. It's kind of circulating. Most toy makers have wanted to do that for a while. Why don't you give us a little break on like where that came from? Why now? What kind of pushed that for you?
Yeah, cool. So I think like making a vinyl toy was probably always going to be on the cards, but just didn't sort of really know when, why, or how. And then I think it was probably around when a lot of the tariff stuff started to kick in or shit started to happen, probably around August, September last year. And I'd closed down the Patreon or put it on hiatus, whatever you want to call it. And was just kind of like, I'm just gonna have a bit of a break from maybe sort of 3.75. I felt I was a little bit, the tank was a little bit low. So I just thought I would try and sort of like sculpt something completely different, like not 3.75, not kind of in proportion, just something a bit cooler and easier to sort of like cast, and probably a little bit smaller, but although it would probably end up being about the same size of a 3.75, but didn't really know what I wanted. I just kind of wanted like a little dude. And then sort of started sculpting, and it originally started as a fucking like crazy professor robot sort of thing, and then it eventually just kind of like evolved over months, but I didn't really have any idea of what I wanted to make other than just like a dude that probably had like a cyborg face. So I started sculpting, I think it was around October, and then yeah, just kind of like rolled with it. Didn't really have a plan at all. It was just going to be, the only thing I had was a really dodgy sketch on Procreate just to keep the proportions sort of, yeah. So that slide there, so the sketch was basically that, and then I dug through some old nomad sculpts that I had. I think I had like the head just sort of like laid out really, really basically, and then I just started ripping into it, and then yeah, just over like a couple of months, just kind of kept adding. Yeah, I sculpted like a cleaver, scissors, a blaster. So yeah, so I was gonna have like all this sort of shit. So when I was sculpting it, I don't think I was like 100% committed to like sending it to vinyl. There was a period there where I was like, all right, cool, I can sculpt this, I can print it, and I can cast it, and I'm just gonna have this little chunky dude, and it'll just be something different. And then as it kind of kept going, I realized that there was probably going to be a few parts going to be really hard to cast and catch bubbles, but I was like, fuck it, I'll just keep going and just work it out on the fly. And
Now,
then,
if I may, just because normally you're making the molds, you're casting it, knowing that this was going to be going off to someone else. Did you really care too much about that, or were you kind of like they'll sort it out at the factory, or was it more that you weren't really sure, so you weren't worrying about it at the moment?
yeah, I wasn't really sure. I think probably throughout the whole of the sculpting process, I think I thought that I was going to actually like cast it and then like mold it and cast it. The tank, I always knew I was going to be like, this is going to be a real fucker to cast. So I was going to be like, I'll either have to, and I did actually like broke it down into parts. So it was a bit with the treads, a bit with the fucking, yeah, so I sort of, here's a painted one that I did ages ago. But yeah, so originally I was like, I should be able to like mold and cast the head and the arms and the torso. I'm sure that'll be all good. But then I was like, the tank, it's massive, it's solid resin, it's going to be really heavy. So I broke it down into parts. So the top part was going to be a piece. Those things are going to be another piece. And then the tracks was going to be a separate piece. And then it was getting pretty complicated by that point. But it still sort of printed it and prepped them and then sort of put them together, but they just weren't like super flush. And by this point, I think I'd probably put in like 3 months of just like sculpting in my spare time. So I didn't really want to dump all that work into something that just I wasn't going to be able to make. So I was like, all right, fuck it. I'll print the tanks, just one solid piece, which they do print pretty well. So I was like, cool, that'll be all right. I'm not stoked on like selling part of a piece printed when I usually just like pour and obviously do resin. But I was like, that's cool. This is a bit of a compromise. So then mold and cast the top half.
Yeah, I was just digging through your paint. I knew you had casted or at least printed a couple when you were testing out your paints. Damn,
yeah,
dude.
So I printed a few, and I think this one's actually one that's got the detachable kind of thing.
Damn.
And then also the magazine for the minigun that sort of came off. So there's a point there I was like, cool, I can print these separately and kind of like assemble them, and then made molds of like, yeah, the top. So this was cool. And that's, I think,
that's a casted separate piece, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at your page thinking like, fuck, that swappability is so sick.
Yeah, so that was cool. And I was like, oh shit. So this kind of gave me more gas to be like, oh, let's do it in sort of resin. That means I can like print and like sculpt my own different bits and like put them on there. Anyway, so then came to the bit to like, cool, so print the tanks, but we'll cast the body and the arms and the head and stuff, and made molds, and they mostly worked except for like really important areas like the ends of the fingers, the fucking chin. So I was like, dang, this is shit. So I could either completely like redo it, start again with new molds, or just be like, let's send this to the factory, because I don't even know if I'm going to be able to like do the the tanks. At that point, I didn't even know what I wanted the tanks to really like look like color wise. I was just like spraying random colors. So yeah, kind of got to the end of last year and I was like, fuck, I've put all this time in, I've made these molds. They're okay for me, but it's going to be a lot of patching. But they'll work for practice pieces. So I was like, fuck it. Yep, I can practice on these, skill myself up on some airbrushing and that sort of thing, and then send the sculpt to a factory and just see what like a quote was going to be and timelines. And it was pretty easy. Like I wasn't sure if it was going to take, you know, a couple of weeks of just back and forth before they actually would sort of like take the job or answer questions, but they were really forthcoming. So that made it really easy. But yeah, so it was this kind of like half impulsive, really long sort of decision because I'd sort of put all this work and then was like, no, I'm not sending this to the depths of my fucking iPad, never to be seen again. So yeah, so I sent it to the factory and it was really cool. They were really helpful. I'll grab a blank.
Yeah, like, dude, I'm even looking at the size of the printout compared to like the ones you've got painted. It looks like they obviously ended up making it bigger as well. Was that something that you kind of talked through with them, or that they just kind of told you this would be better, or?
Yeah, nah. So I printed, I don't know why I chose the initial print size. I don't know why I kind of like printed it out that. It was probably like what would fit on the plate. I reckon maybe once I'd sort of laid all these parts out with all the fucking, what do you call it? The supports and shit. I think it kind of filled the plate up. So I was like, oh, that size will sort of do just to like play around with. But then when I was actually sort of doing the back and forth with the factory, I think I'd said between 13 and 15 centimeters. So we landed on 14 centimeters, which was cool. But what I didn't do is print one at home at 14 centimeters. So I just practiced for like months and months on these little guys. So I was really good. I got really good at sort of like printing at smaller scale. However, when they arrived, I was like, holy shit, they're fucking big, man. Like, I think it's 3 centimeters taller than that one. And I was like, that's not that much bigger. That's bigger in like scale and shit. But it was also a relief because I was like, oh, I've been painting something quite small and now I can paint something a bit bigger. It should be easier to paint, which it mostly has been from that perspective in terms of sort of like fine detail and that sort of thing. I'll get a bit of better light on this because
See here, I was thinking to myself, damn, it looks like a beautiful day out there, man. I don't know if it's just that you've got your lighting right or what, but it looks like you've got some beautiful sunshine hitting you.
it's sunny, but it is fucking cold as outside. Let's see if we get some light. That's better.
And like I've got to ask, man, like why a vehicle? Like what made you decide to go with the tank bottom?
Yeah, I have honestly. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Crumbs, because there actually is like this weird sort of story to it. But yeah, so when I was sculpting, it was just gonna be like a little kind of crazy fucking doctor dude, and then I think I sculpted the top half. So I was like, cool, because I pretty much sculpted it top down, I'm pretty sure. So I started with the head and then eventually kind of went down and got to the legs. And I think I couldn't quite decide if I wanted to have like an apron sort of thing or if I wanted his legs or did I want like a belt with like packs, what sort of pants did I want? And then I think I was like, I might just start sculpting not anything like that and just go for a bit more of like a cyborg thing. There's one of the X-Men baddies, I fucking can never remember their names, like Marauders or something like that. But one of them sort of got like basically a tank on the bottom, and there's heaps of characters in pop culture and shit that have got that. So I just sort of like started sculpting and, oh, this is actually really fun. I can do like weapons, I can do this kind of stuff. So ditched the whole, he's going to have legs and then he's going to have this kind of like tank thing, which initially was just going to be kind of a lot, like kind of like smaller, not quite as long. And then it just kind of kept adding shit and make it a bit more tank-like, and then add like, you know, the mini gun and the rocket launchers. These are supposed to be like,
detailed.
yeah,
Like,
thanks, man.
you know, there's a lot happening, man. Like, and I'm sure that we're gonna see some really sick artists hit those up with some paint, and it'll be wild to see what they do with those, man.
Hopefully, I do have a list of like artists. I pretty much as soon as I sent it off to the factory, I was like, cool. Once it all sort of comes to fruition, who do I want to send these out to paint? So I've got a list on my phone that maybe I actually thought I'd have like way more spares. I thought they'd just be like, I'd be drowning in them, but it's like I've fucking eaten these things because there's not as many left, and I got like 50 made. So I don't know whether I've just like fucked a whole bunch up from like painting and practicing, or they're just scattered throughout the house. Anyway, I'm just going to go back to this for 2 seconds. So as I was like sculpting it, it was like, yeah, cool. We're going to do the tank bit. Factory did like a plug on it. And then it might have been after I was at the factory, I realized that throughout the time I was making it, we had a guy at work. No, this is before. So this is middle of last year. One of my colleagues at my day job, he was only like 32. So he had a stroke. So completely like fucked him, half his body paralyzed. We spent 6 months in hospital, and then he's just moved into like a supported accommodation place earlier this year. And I didn't quite realize, probably until he said it or something like that, but he's like, oh man, that's me. And I was like, holy shit, dude's in a fucking wheelchair, dude's paralyzed half his face. My character's got like robot shit through half of his fucking face and his body. And this was a really like close guy at work. You know, I don't sort of make that many friends at my day job. At 3 colleagues, like a pretty sort of private, reserved person a lot of the time, but and had a really good sort of friendship with this guy. So I do like to think this is my kind of way of processing, you know, what happened to my good friend Patrick. So but yeah, it was really weird to kind of like reflect on that, be like, holy shit, did like I subconsciously just kind of like channel all that sort of like my emotional stuff into this like cool sculpt? And I hope that's exactly what happened in my brain, because it makes the piece even kind of like more meaningful. Like it's a pretty meaningful piece anyway, first vinyl, but yeah, it's just kind of like you start picking up those layers of like why I kind of like sculpted it, how I sculpted it. Yeah, so that's just a little bit of a story there.
It's a great extra little element, man. And I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that an artist did something like that, obviously, right? That's fantastic, dude.
Yeah, thanks, man.
With the tank being that way, I mean, is there any thoughts of collaborating in ways that you can actually do swaps on that as well?
I've got a photo. I forgot to post the other day. So Meadow Knight Creations and I did a trade the other day, and she sent me a scare wolf, and I also bought an extra one because I want to paint it up. I don't have it here. It must be in the studio. But I was sitting there having a ciggy the other night, and I was like, I wonder what the joint on the waist like. So I like hit it up, popped them apart, and yeah, like Meadow Knight's scare wolf fits perfectly on top. Like the scare wolf's a bit bigger, but I've got a photo. I'll post it onto my Insta. It's funny as. So that was really cool, and that was kind of like, oh shit, what else have I got in here that I could possibly pull apart and like try and jam in there? So I haven't tried any others, but I don't think any other vinyls that I've got would really fit that well. But yeah, absolutely. If anyone sort of buys a blank or anything like that, definitely pull it apart and try and shove it into other people's vinyls, as long as they're cool with my vinyl being shoved into theirs, but or vice versa, whatever.
There's a lot of like random kaiju vinyls and stuff out there that I think they would actually look so sick riding in that little like tank bottom that you've created, man. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody wanted to do that with you.
There is one other cool thing about the tank, and I realized this probably whilst I was at the factory. I'm trying to get a figure.
No stress, man. Also, Suki brought up a good point. They were kind of curious about. Have you tried 3D printing masks for it? Since you obviously have the master files, just curious how well resin would line up with a vinyl pull. And I'm sure that they're, you know, if you've been able to print it out, I'm sure other people here would know if there's a way of even just going into Nomad and actually just tracing out basically like a flat surface for it. But is that something that you would consider, or fuck it?
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I'm just looking at the comment. Oh, paint mask. Yeah. Cool. So I missed the bit where you said paint mask. I was like, what?
No stress.
Yeah. So, yes, that was absolutely the plan. I was kind of like, fucking sweet. So if I'm going to be like, if I'm printing my own pieces or like casting them, I'll be able to, I know the exact scale. I'll be able to print paint masks. I'll be a genius. This is the greatest thing to ever happen. And then I got fucking bubbles in a lot of my casts and was like, ah, shit. And then when I got the factory piece made, I was kind of like, oh, cool. I should be able to like print paint masks. I just need to scale up the sculpt to whatever it is. No, because like, no for me, because
Okay.
there's slight, the like the factory would have made like just slight kind of like changes to make the piece like all fit together. So I think the torso is maybe just a little bit smaller. the waist comes in a little bit more. So there would have been little tweaks to the sculpt. So whatever I would have printed and tried to put on, I don't think they would have really fit in that well. And another thing I realized that pieces from the factory, whilst they all look identical, can be just slightly different. So there's a couple of like arms where the kink in the arm is just sort of like not quite there, or the arm's a little bit longer, which makes me question like, fuck, had I made like all these paint masks, what would have happened? So yeah, and look, I wasn't going to invest that much time into like trying to work out the scale from like Nomad to the printer to this, when I could probably just use that time just like taping and like just kind of practicing the painting a bit more. However, I did make a paint mask for these little fucking things here on the back. They're like little brackets that I sculpted. Probably easy to see on this one. I did start hand painting these. I think maybe this one. On one of them, I was like, nah, not doing that. So I made an epoxy sculpt for paint mask for that, which was good. And then I also tried to make an epoxy sculpt paint mask for the face, but that once I'd sort of put it on, it would start to like chip the paint. The paint that we use is not Wonder Awesome Goblin stuff. Like we use SMS, which is just like a scale model paint. So it doesn't stick initially that well. That's why I've got to like coat it with a clear coat to like stick it on. But yeah, I found once I'd sort of put that paint mask on the face, I'd take it off where it would sort of like clip into some of the little crevices, would take a little bit of paint. So I was like, nah, not doing that anymore. Luckily this paint mask has survived for these little things. So then around this time was when, what do you call it? Craftsman did the fucking alfoil paint mask, and I was like, yeah, sweet, I'll give that a go. That was way harder than it looks. I still have some foil. I do want to give it a go. I think I just need to find the right part to use it on. So yeah, I do want to go back to like having a crack at the aluminium foil paint masks. But it's also been really fun just kind of not using paint masks. I think there definitely is some places that I've had to like needed to paint up that I could probably make a pretty easy paint mask with, but like sort of these little brackets on the arms there. But yeah, it's actually just been fun just kind of free spraying, not using sort of paint masks.
Free balling it.
Free ball. I was going to say free balling it, but
I saw it. But I mean, and honestly, that's quite different from how you were doing. Like you used to be so tight with all the paintwork on there. Do you find it's kind of weird now going to the airbrush? Like you've been doing that for about a year now.
Yeah, but no, really kind of strange, because I think even when I started to do the airbrush stuff, I was still like taping up lots of areas on the figures and just kind of trying to make it tight in that real kind of like factory look. So I think that's why I was like making probably so many of these screeches, was to kind of like actually break out of that, like we don't need to tape up everything. Not everything needs to be that soup of like, you know, different parts don't need to be different fucking colors and shit. Like just, it can be a bit more kind of like flowy. So that was actually a really good practice to kind of keep doing it on these figures, and also just having conversations with other sort of like toy makers and stuff around the sculpt, just kind of being like, oh man, I don't really know what to do here. I think I need to add more. They're like, oh, you know, the arms are the whole thing's pretty sort of busy, so you probably don't need to add more kind of like there. And so it was really useful to have conversations. And yeah, they were just kind of like by the by, but they were really, really important and helpful to me, because I'd never made anything like this before, and I didn't really know. I didn't have a plan exactly of what it was going to look like painted when I sent it to the factory. I was like, I know what it's going to look like in a blank, but I had no fucking idea what colorway I wanted it. So that took about a month or two to actually work out, to nail down a colorway, and which I sort of did. But then came the next, this is all painted in acrylics. So then once I got the SMS like vinyl type paint, different colors, paint works differently. It's fucking awesome, but it works really differently to acrylic. So I love that I don't have to thin paints anymore, but I'm glad that I had the experience of having to thin down acrylics, because yeah, you end up sort of being able to mix up some pretty cool colors and get some pretty cool textures. But yeah, man, the paint works differently on vinyl. And like I was asking these dudes, you know, do you have to like prep it with anything? And it was hard, because a lot of the stuff on YouTube from say, you know, makers stateside, everyone's using Wonder Paint. So I'm not using Wonder Paint. So like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. And then a lot of the stuff online, for SMS paint is, so SMS is scale model supply or something. So this is for people like making model fucking cars. So not heaps and heaps of info are online around, putting the stuff on vinyl and what you do. So I was going straight to the artists like Station City and ZNG Toys, local dudes. I just been like, what do I do? What do I sort of, and that was awesome. I reckon I cut out so much like work and probably expenses just from chatting with these guys. And they're like, yep, you've got to like clear coat it with this stuff. This is the best stuff to use. And I was kind of like, oh, cool. It's like, that's expensive. And then sort of did some research and was kind of like, yep, that's really the only one to use that holds up best. So yeah. So it was one of those times where, yeah, kind of coming into the scene, having connections, a little network there already. And then, yeah, being to cut out a whole lot of like fucking around and a whole lot of trial and error, which I knew there was always going to be a trial and error with the vinyl, and there always should be. But yeah, so I felt like that was a really sort of smooth ride through. So whilst it was getting made at the factory, went and got the new airbrush, got the fucking ventilated booth, ordered the paints. So then when it came, it was just like, damn, let's get to it. But yeah, really fun process.
I mean, you've really invested in it, man. Like not even to mention all the prints that you did, all the painting and hours and time that you did, just kind of testing it out. When you consider like the supplies, the air venting, the airbrush, the new paint, it's like, damn, that really starts to add up, dude.
Yeah, it really does. And the only reason I can like, I'll be straight. The only reason I can afford it is because I went back and picked up more days at my day job. So like, I didn't sort of have all of this like awesome like toy sales. This is totally going from like my day job, and that was the double-edged sword of kind of like, yeah, basically having to kind of like slow things down with the toy stuff last year. Was a big part of it was I was doing more day job stuff. So and really trying to have more boundaries around when I do toy stuff. So not coming home every night and just doing it because, oh shit, I need to do it, doing it when I want to do it. So yeah, that kind of like changed the pace a little bit. And then what the fuck am I talking about? Like, what was I rambling on about? What was the question?
Well, because we were talking about how that's a large investment, yeah, and
Yeah,
you were kind of reality slapping about the fact that it's like this wasn't just like Titty Bean Toys and Patreon's been doing so well that I reinvested that money. This was actually you having to reavert your time and energy into the other avenue in order to do that and pivot a bit to kind of rework how you're doing Titty Beans. But even that's really tough, man. I think even trying to find that balance is really difficult for a lot of folks. I'm sure even you kind of nailed it at the beginning. That was a hard aspect, right? You come home and you just want to make and make and make. With the new vinyl and knowing that you've now kind of had to do that trade-off to work the day job a little bit more, would you do this process again? Is doing more vinyl, like you've got your sculpt, right? We often talk about like the molds are the most expensive part, so getting fresh pulls of that it's still an investment. But do you think you would go and do the whole starting from scratch again, new mold, do a whole new run of vinyl again?
For sure. I reckon like in terms of like how, and whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, but like it was very easy to do it. Like it was a couple of messages through Instagram with the factory. My first question was like, can you make the tank? Like, will this tank be pullable? Because you've got all these little kind of like pointy bits. That's a terrible example. You got these, all these kind of bits and parts. And I was like, are these bits going to bubble up? Like, also don't really know how vinyl molds work really that beyond like, they're a slush kind of casting. I don't really know the ins and outs of it. So I was like, is this really doable? And by the way, they were like, yep. And then even then I was a little bit skeptical, kind of like, yeah, okay, I'll wait till you guys send me a test cast or something. And then working at how to get it to the factory. So if anyone wants to know, you can either send it and you pay for them to do a print. So that's an extra little cost. I think that was like 150 USD, or you can like print it at home, package it, post it to the factory. I didn't want to risk anything getting broken, lost in whatever. And it's a digital file. Like, what's the point of fucking doing something digitally to print it, then to send it? Just send it digitally. They're professionals. There is no print lines or anything that I can kind of see on this sort of thing. But it was a super easy process. I think absolutely waiting for the molds to be made. There is that kind of like waiting thing where they'll send you photos of, cool, here's the print, and then they'll make the silicon molds, and you sort of see these steps, and then then there'll be like a gap of like a month or something where you might not hear anything, and then it's a lot of nerves. You're like, is what's happening? And obviously they've taken your money because they're doing a job, but yeah, there can be that wait, and then it was kind of like, boom, your toys are ready, they're on the way, pay for, courier. So to get it sent was not cheap as well, so postage was a bit of a killer, but they could fucking rob me because I just wanted those toys in my hands, and it arrived really quickly. So I guess a benefit of living in Australia is toys from China come kind of quick. They're not like super quick, but probably a little bit quicker than the States. But absolutely, I'd go through it again. Like if I've got the money there, it's just a different scale. And when I sort of say scale, I don't mean like proportion scale to like resin. It's just a different scale, like money wise. Basically, put another 0 or 2 on the end when you would buy like a batch of resin. I guess now it's just like put another couple of zeros and then buy some molds. And but there is something really nice knowing that you've got like a shitload of one sort of thing that you can just go and do whatever you want with, and it's always there. And then the kind of thought of like, oh fuck, are the molds still going to be okay? Is this going to kind of like work? Is the compressor going all right? You don't have to worry about any of that. You just sort of go shoot and paint. And that's been the nice thing as well, getting home from work. And if I do feel like I kind of want to paint, just do a couple of little bits and then kind of be like, yep, cool, I don't need to do any more today. And just be really organized with drops as well. So when I would do resin shit, I'd basically have the shit fucking 3/4 of the way made, and then I'd be like, yeah, it's good to go. And then I'd like basically put it up in the store, and then like the paint's still wet or the packaging's still like printing and shit, but you just want to get it out there. So whereas with this, I'm like, no, we're not actually putting a drop date out publicly until I've actually got them like reassembled, put in the bag, everything's completely done. Just because, yeah, again, this is very fucking new for me, but I just want to be very organized, a lot more professional. Like I was professional with the resin shit, but these ones, I just want to make sure it's fucking tight. To the point that like when I sold the first batch of beans, I messaged B once it arrived and was like, dude, how's the paint? Like, what's it look like? I felt like that resin noob, like selling their first toy to like their first customer being like, how did it arrive? Was it all good? I tested it in the bag for a bit, like fucking, and he's like, no, it was all good. Again, just because I don't know how that UV, what do we call it? The Mr. Spray clear coat shit. I'm like, 100% trust the local dudes. They know exactly what they're doing. But I'm like, did I fucking put too much on? Did I fuck it up? Did I like not do something? So it was really kind of nice to hear B go, no, it was all good, man. Like, don't stress. But yeah, it brings a different kind of nerves and anxiety though for me personally, is painting it disassembled and clear coating it or whatever. And then
sorry, that was fucking fresh, bro. Damn, man.
I'll show you these guys. So this is going to be the new guy coming out on Monday, whenever I said the date was. So it probably doesn't pick up super well on the camera, but he's actually full of, that light doesn't really help.
The little fuzzies.
Yeah, full of little pom-poms. Oh, actually, this is probably a better example. Yeah, little pom-pom kind of things.
That is an insane clear Safubi, dude, with the splashes of paint. The color choice is fantastic. The areas where you've decided to be tight with it versus the areas where you've just kind of thrown some sprays, like, it looks so sick, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, there's probably a few little bits that the camera's not picking up, but yeah. So when I did the first drop, I was like, dude, that was fun. Like, it was cool, but it was so much work. I really underestimated how many layers and how many different paints I used for that first run. So the second run, I was like, nah, less is more is the name of the game. And I think even then, sorry, that's my dog coughing. I think even then I kind of failed a little bit with the less is more, because you just see little bits and you're like, oh, a little bit there, a little bit there. But I think that the colors really do come through of the little pom-poms. So
I don't know what the fuck you've done with that pink eyeball and the little orange dots, but the way that you've layered, like, shit looks like it's glowing, man. Like, that eye looks like it is glowing. You crushed that, dude.
I think it's a bit of a trick of the camera. It's a bit of the reflection, I think, of the light. So yeah, it's just kind of like pink, neon sort of pink going through like the scars and stuff. But yeah, that was the eye was a funny thing, because I was like, fuck, I don't really know what to do. I was putting a yellow eye. I want the eye to be kind of like almost the same on every one. So that like white base and then like fluoro pink coming sort of around the edges. But yeah, so that's one. So I'll have that version, and then this one is kind of like flipped, sort of. So instead of having the like
Damn,
magenta
dude.
tip on the guns and shit, this one sort of got the green tip on the guns. So this guy is also full of pom-poms up the top, so they're like little pastel sort of pom-poms, but then the tank is full of like reflective, like purple tinsel kind of shit. So
It looks almost like the Easter basket kind of stuff.
yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
that color scheme is so. Did you put some kind of like a? It might be the color of the light. It might be the pom poms. But is there almost like a white on there,
Inside.
or on the arms or something like inside? Maybe it's inside. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the pom-pom. So there's kind of like a
Oh
white,
man.
yellow, like yeah, I think what's color are the pom-poms? They're like orange, yellow, green, purple, and like turquoise and light blue. But yeah, they came up great, and I was like, shit. I think I got these ones off like AliExpress or something, so I didn't have as many. So I was like, that's why I did the tank with the tinsel, because I was like, I don't have enough pom-poms to fill like 3 of these guys. So it kind of worked out if I put the tinsel in there. And then also just kind of went like nuts on like, yeah, AliExpress, and just bought all these pom-poms and tinsels and shit, which is cool. I'm stocked up, but I don't need any more things to stuff inside my tank. But yeah, so yeah, these dudes will come out on Monday. Sorry, Crumbs, I know you just put me back on the little screen. But yeah, so limited batch. I probably won't do any more of these, even though less is more. There's still a bit of a fucker to like paint sometimes.
Dude, there's a lot. It's so funny. You keep saying less is more. I'm looking at that thinking like, there's so much fucking going on those, man. Holy cow.
Yeah, there's a bit there. But yeah, so these will come out on Monday at 11. I just need to put, I think they're all pretty much done. I just need to like assemble. There we go, sun without arms. I already broke my own rule by saying, you don't fucking put them out until they're in the bag. I was like, I'm sure I'll be able to put arms on them in a few days. One other thing I wanted to show.
Please.
Sort of intentional. Look, happy accident. Fucking, I did not like scale this and plan it, but the tank basically kind of fits like a 3.75. So this is just a reaction figure. So one day when I get like really fucking bored or burnt out or something like that, I want to kind of like 3D sculpt some little like handles. So then just make the tank like a little fucking vehicle for a 3.75. But yeah, not all my figures fit in here because my action figures were a little bit bigger and their stance was a little bit too wide to fit in the plug there, or the hole. But yeah. So that's fun.
Dude, I think that's a brilliant idea. And admittedly, like doing almost like a plug size where it's kind of like the driving controls would be probably fairly easy, man.
Yeah,
But
I think the stupidest thing that hanging me up, I was like, oh no, where are the sticks going to go? Like, what toy do I actually make it to fit? I'm like, that means you got to commit to like one toy as like the model where the arms go. And I think that was like too much. One day, put this in the fucking, we'll get around to it eventually basket. But yeah, I really would like to do that. But then I was also like, will the factory just make like extra tanks for me? Do they just kind of like do pools of, yeah, anyway. But yeah, would like
I never thought of that actually. If you could actually just like a wave of just the tank orders.
Yeah, I'm like, are they going to be like, I don't know, like real tight and be kind of like, no, if we're going to use the mold, we need to use every single part of the mold, or can we just like fucking give us 20 tanks? But yeah, so it's cool, really cool. And even like with the sculpt, I think having like the tank on the bottom, I thought that might kind of give it a bit more range around like what kind of different shit we can put on top. Can we give him like a set of legs? I have actually started to sculpt like another character, like to sort of put on there, a bit more of a monstrous kind of thing, not really like cyborg. There's probably a bit of cyborg in it, but more of like a monster. I started, then I sort of bailed on it, so I want to circle back. But yeah, I thought that was also the good thing about having the tank. Was like, can we put different characters? Can you just kind of like use it a bit differently? And yeah, would also like to give this dude some legs sometimes, or I don't want to like make the whole focus being like, oh, swap this out and swap that, because a lot of the time people don't really swap that many kind of things or do that many combinations. See a couple in photos, but I think, yeah, I don't want it to rely on that.
I think it would more be like the swappability is more generally to open up the artist's options or to create like collabs, right? When
Yeah,
you look at Healy made, if you actually look at like a bunch of those WF figures, like a lot of the Star Wars wrestlers, like the heads is what changes. Like
yeah,
they'll have
yeah,
like the same, core torso for it. I think the new Boba Fett one is probably like the best example where it's like you've used that body a couple times, print it
yeah,
in, or get it pulled in different colorways. So what's kind of sick with yours is that that tank becomes something that you can definitely swap out different things, whether it be your own creations or like personally, I keep on picturing those stupid Sarugamark little dinosaurs and picturing one of those stupid fucking dinosaurs cut in half and plopped in there, or even some of the basement puke figures because they're small. The
yep,
idea of them just popping into there, but then being kind of something you wouldn't normally see in a tank, it,
yeah.
it's kind
That'd
of
be
sick.
cool.
But um, I mean, who knows where that'll go? I'm just nosy out of curiosity. Like I know with your other figures, you kind of had a bit of like a galactic TIDDY universe going on. Does this guy kind of fit into a universe on his own? Does he kind of fit into that universe? Are you kind of potentially building a new vinyl verse? What's kind of maybe the
Hmm.
plan there?
It's a cool question. I like that. No, I think he just kind of like fits into that universe. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, Crumbs, because I can be really strict on like proportions and like who fits into whose world. And I think even as a kid playing with, you can't be fucking playing with GI Joes and then have a Toxic Crusader come in. It just doesn't. The scale's all fucked up unless it's like a monster or something from the GI Joe like facilities and shit like that. But yeah, I get what you're saying, but no, I think he's just kind of like he's part of the universe. He's just kind of like some weird little freak. Just maybe like he's not really in his vinyl version. He's not really to scale kind of thing. I think, say in the Titty verse, he'd probably be a bit more of like a little runt kind of dude, just like me, kind of getting around. Where, you know, yeah, he'd be a bit of a shitbag, kind of like a bit of an Igor, I think, sort of dude. But that was also the hard thing, like as I was like sculpting him, is to keep the proportions wacky. I kept going back to making fucking forearms in scale to the hand and the fucking thumbs, and I kept going, just reverting back to no, he's got to be within like proper proportions. Proportions. So that was also like a fun challenge. It's kind of like, no, things need to be exaggerated, things need to be a bit bent, bumped up. He's fucking yoked, he's jacked, man, but like I don't think he's been doing it naturally because he's got all these like pimples and shit. Also, when he was going to be a resin version, the reason he's got a bandage on his arm was I was originally going to make that detachable and then you could put like this other arm on it and it was going to be like a saw. And I posted something ages ago and it was like a spinning saw thing that I printed. And the whole idea was going to be like swap arms, put this fucking big saw thing on it. And then once it sort of went to the factory, I was like, that's probably not going to work. There was a brief period where I was like, oh, I'll just cut like one of the arms off the vinyls and then print this fucking saw thing. And then when I got the vinyls, I'm like, I am not cutting this shit up. Like if I've got a spare arm at the once everything is gone, yeah, absolutely. But I'm not fucking sacrificing an arm and losing out on being able to like paint a whole figure just to fuck around with this sort of weird saw arm. So that might still happen in future. And yeah,
Do
what
you
was I
think
talking about?
I think we were even just talking about the adaptability of that sculpt and how you
Mm.
were exaggerating the features, different changes you were going to make in the sculpt. I'm nosy about a couple of things actually. Like one, why were you so focused on making him kind of strange versus having like proportions and stuff? Like what was the idea or desire to have him be kind of exaggerated?
Yeah, I think it was really just a break out of constantly making things in proportion, constantly making things where I think I just kept like reverting back to like using this like template in Nomad, and I was just sick of it. And I actually thought it was like sort of draining. I was like, people aren't liking this. It just people are going to know that I'm just using this same kind of like form template of like a fucking action figure. And I think my tank was just really fucking running dry. So I was like, I need to shake this up a bit. And for years and years, probably since Dr. Plops did the Frankenstalker, the Marber Stalker little dude, I fucking wanted to just to make something like sculpt something myself in a different scale, something you can just like mold a little bit differently, whether that's like double casting it with shit in it or just looking a little bit different. Like it really envious of like, you know, I think it was Hobo Toys that was sort of doing the face thing with the mask. So just like cool resin shit that isn't just an action figure, like cool resin shit that's maybe a little bit more sculpture-y or but just wanted something different scale. But it was always going to be to cast it. So but then also like you can't have this in resin. This is way a fucking ton in resin. So that was also the big thing, was if we're going to get this made, it's obviously going to be hollow.
Has to, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, and when you were talking about how you wouldn't want to cut off any, do you think it coming from a factory kind of changes your attachment to them a little bit? Does it seem almost like, yeah, each one's a little bit more unique and special than if you were just casting them up in your home one after the other?
I think there's definitely that side of it. A couple of things to know when people get stuff from factories. Just because it's from a factory does not mean every single piece will be identical. Like before I said, you know, sometimes the arms might be a little bit kind of longer. Also go through every single piece with a fine tooth comb, because yes, on first glance, every piece will look pretty good. But then when you kind of go back, you sometimes kind of notice where maybe when they've sort of pulled things out of the mold, there's maybe been a little bit of stretching and that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, I've identified a couple of those little kind of imperfections, unique additions, let's call them, from the factory, quite late into the painting process. So sometimes if you look closely, there will be kind of like little things. So just know that when you get it from a factory, just because they're from a factory doesn't mean they are fucking perfect. They are obviously excellent quality and they are great, and they are cosmetic kind of issues. But if you ever get a batch of things from the factory, get everything laid all out, count it, and check every single piece, because I thought I just got some very cool extras, but what I actually got was a couple of miscasts. So definitely go through all your pieces, double check everything. The value kind of thing as well. Before I got them in hand, I was like, this is going to be sick. I'll have like 10 of them that I'll just fucking destroy with paint and experiment, pull apart and, you know, fucking cut and do all this sort of bullshit. And then you get them and you're like, no, these are not cheap. These are not like resin. This isn't like 30 cents of resin that I can just replicate if I fuck it up or if I drop it or drill it or whatever. They became all of a sudden incredibly valuable to me. And I think that's probably just because, holy shit, it's my first vinyl. They look fucking rad. But yeah, part of it was like, I'm not actually going to paint one of these until I've got a bit of an idea of what paint I'm actually going to use. And yeah, the value all of a sudden just sort of goes something I can pretty easily replicate. Like if you're making resin stuff and you know exactly what you're doing, you can do it very cheaply and you know you're very organized, you've got your molds, you can fucking churn out a fair bit of shit for a good price. And I'm sure it's the same with vinyl as well. But yeah, instantly these became very valuable to me. Whereas before I got them, I was like, just do anything with them, man. Just fucking throw them out the window. I'll have like a whole bunch of them on my desk at work. And I'm like, I'm not like, now I'm like, no way. I'm not like sacrificing one of these to sit on my desk at my day job for it just to like sit there and I just stare at it. Like, no, I want to paint it and I want to fucking make it look cool. Yeah. What else did you ask, Crumb?
Well, now I'm even just kind of gonna bug you. Does the value kind of increase because of the shipping cost?
That's actually,
that's a lot to work in.
Yeah.
You know, because I would imagine like at first you're thinking to yourself, they're like, we'll pull 50 for this amount, and you're like, oh fuck yeah, I'm gonna have heaps, right? And then all of a sudden that investment doubles when all of a sudden they hit you with the fucking shipping costs and everything. Yeah. And then on top of that, you're sitting there spending all these nights fucking doing the last little bits of cutting and heating to pop everything together, and you're sitting there going, fuck.
Yeah.
I've only got 50 of these.
One thing I will say, and I got very lucky with this, I don't think I realized this until I got the pieces or they were being sent, is the factory, so Rabbit Giant Safubi, they cut all the excess flashing and all the excess shit off. So fucking, if we think about it, like the time spent doing that kind of shit, and if we sort of say, let's put that like financial money and that, let's just count that into the postage, fucking money well spent, because I don't even think I've tried cutting any of the vinyl to like trim anything or anything like that with these, like sort of like internal joints. But that shit looks fucking hard. I do
Yeah.
not want to cut my fingers. I've seen lots of people cut themselves doing that. And definitely there's an angle and there's a technique to it. So that would be its whole own learning experience of like how you trim this shit. I'm also using Lisa's hairdryer. I really need to get a heat gun, but I'm so paranoid I'm gonna fucking blow up her hairdryer. She's gonna be so cut if I do. But yeah, so that part of it, I got really lucky. Didn't really have to do that. Didn't realize until after the fact almost. But yeah, I think the value of these suddenly do kind of shoot up once you do kind of realize how much you've invested. Holy shit, it's happening. Today's the day I'm getting them. Or today's the day that I know that they're sending them. They've just fucking billed me. And I think it was something like 180 USD to get these sent from China. Granted, the box was pretty heavy. So there's what, 6 pieces, 6 times 50, so 300 fucking pieces of vinyl or whatever in there. But yeah, that was like that stang. I was like, oh, no, I should be okay because, you know, Australia's close to China. It shouldn't be too bad. Shouldn't be getting charged what the States get. Maybe people in the States get charged more than that, but I was like, holy fuck.
Well, and you're saying USD, but let's be real. Like that's almost double usually. When we're looking at Canadian and Australian. That's almost closer to about 320.
Yeah, 100%. I was like, holy shit, we're so close to the finish line here, boys. Like, I'm about to like do it. Let's go. They're like, cool, yep, all packaged. Here's the bill for the, you know, because you pay, you know, here's your vinyl. You pay half before they do it, then you pay half after, and then they tack on the shipping cost. And I was like, yeah, man, I'll pay anything to get these bad boys here. And then they're kind of like, yo, 180, and I'm like, fuck, yeah, I'm paying it, but like, I'm not. I thought this was going to be slightly cheaper. Just geographically, I'm a bit of a dumbass like that. So, but the good thing was it came really quick. And I think that's what some of the guys locally said. You know, if you go for shipping on a ship, it'll be cheap as fuck, but it'll take 3 or 4 months to get here, or you pay at the ass and you get it couriered and it is there within a week. And it was, I think I had them within like 4 days or something crazy like that. And yeah, that shit was like fucking Christmas. That was awesome.
I can only imagine. Okay, dude, your wife has seen what you've invested into the resin side of things. Obviously, this isn't like fair. If you're like, no, fuck you, crumbs, then fine. But how do they feel seeing you? Like, how do you explain to somebody who maybe doesn't understand this whole other investment process and avenue? Like, did they kind of understand, or was it kind of hard explaining that to somebody outside of this?
Yeah, I think it was probably hard. Not that she asked too many questions. I think there's also a part of her that just kind of like, just do your thing. I'm not sort of, she's really not bothered by kind of like what I do. And I think in the past couple of years, probably since we moved house, so the start of 2024, even before that, I started to become really aware of how much time I was spending like doing toy shit and how much it was burning me out and how much in denial I was about how much it was burning me out. And then just kind of got to a point of like, nah, there needs to be nights after work where I just chill out, watch TV, do bullshit. But yeah, when I was kind of like, and it was probably more explaining to her like why I'm so excited about a certain thing. Like I might sort of like print something and I'll be like, holy fuck, look at this. And she'd be like, oh, that's cool. But didn't really kind of get like why it was different for me. She obviously knew that it was different from having an action figure, but yeah, and then like starting the whole vinyl kind of like process and talking to her about it, she just kind of like, oh yeah, that's exciting, but didn't get what I was talking about. She didn't understand the difference between vinyl and resin and, you know, size and like, you know, being hollow and clear and all the different paints and airbrush. So yeah, I think once I started to kind of like get like ventilation booths and like all this kind of shit that like make noise, I think she was like, oh yeah, this is actually different now. This is a bit of a different beast. And in a good way, there's a lot less bits of plastic and shit being fucking dragged around the house because I'm not messing with resin, and obviously I'm messing with paints and shit now. But yeah, but I think, yeah, she's just happy that I'm just kind of like, she's happy that I'm happy.
Fair, yeah. Seeing your work in a factory toy, like, does that excite her? Does she see that and think like, oh shit, yeah, that's your toy, or it's just like, yeah, another thing you made?
Yeah, no, I think she definitely kind of gets the gravity of like, you know, this is something that, you know, yeah, this is something that's sort of made in a factory. And I think once I started to once I started like do the pom-poms and like stuff it with stuff and then like do some of the paints and then gloss the paints, she kind of really started to get maybe more of like the aesthetic kind of appeal to it. And really started to see like, I wouldn't be able to do something like that in resin at that sort of size. And but yeah, she just kind of lets me do my thing, and she gets excited when I get excited. But yeah, I think it's still so foreign to her. She just still doesn't really get. It's like she gets it, she loves it that I love it, but yeah, look, it's not something that there won't be like a team up with my wife where she'll be sort of painting and I'll be fucking sculpting or anything like that. Like, nah, she's got her job and that's what she does, and this is my little it's actually like a hobby now. And this is it was a bit of a sad realization when you kind of go from being something to then sort of like feeling like a toy maker, and then almost being like a full-time toy maker, then just kind of being like, people sort of be like, hey, you still doing the toys? And I'm like, yeah, but it's a bit more of a hobby now. But then you kind of like try and explain like, oh, but I've got a toy made in a factory. And yeah, people don't really get it. Their faces just kind of be like, oh yeah, is that hard? And you're like, well, sort of. It's not hard to do, but it's fucking expensive, and it takes a lot of like effort and like negotiating with yourself to be like, this is actually a design I've got to commit to for months and months. And that was the biggest fear about getting into a factory toy, was this is something I'll have to live with without getting sick of for months and months, even before it arrives. Like,
damn,
I'm fucking bored of this. And it arrives and I look at it and be like, look, it's cool, it's in hand, but I'm pretty sick of looking at it. That was a terrifying concept. And I think a way that I sort of weirdly got around that was by not actually deciding on exactly what I wanted the final guy to look like, the final prototype. I had no fucking idea. I just kind of settled on that kind of more sinewy, greeny, orangey fucking dude. But yeah, with the tank, no idea what color I wanted. I decided up here, had fucking no idea what I wanted down here. So that probably kept me like from getting sick of it, is that fact that I hadn't committed to a color scheme. It hadn't become like a really real figure. And I also didn't overthink that. I was like, I'll get around to it. Eventually, once I start like painting the figures, poor B, man, like, fuck, dude. I got to be. It's all right. I'll hold the fort tonight.
Right? I mean, I'll be honest. We're very fortunate that it's you, man. We've always, every now and then, you get the odd person where it's like you're throwing fucking balls at the wall. But no, you have shit to say. You know what you're talking about. You like this stuff. It works, man. It's all perfect.
Dude, I haven't spoken like verbally about toys like this in this depth probably since the last time I was on here. Like, I'm kind of a little bit removed from shit at the moment, that it feels like. But
that's a form of grieving. Like, you were talking about it earlier about that mind switch, and I don't think a lot of people realize that it's grief in its own way, right? Because for 3 years probably you had kind of established that this was your shit. You had your Patreon, you had consistent customers, but it was burning you out.
Yeah.
And it's odd when you have to try and make that pivot. But what's funny is that for a lot of folks, you really haven't stopped making at all. This is literally the bar that so many of you, when you came in, said you wanted. So many of you were like, fuck, I want to make my own piece of vinyl at some point. So it's like, well, you slowed down so you could achieve a different goal for a moment. That's another way you can kind of look at it, I guess, because now you have a fucking vinyl, man.
Yeah, it is. It's sick, and I'm really like I am really lucky that I was in a position where I could kind of, I guess, fuck with my day job days, where I could go down to like 2 days and just do toys for a couple of years, and kind of fucking roll into work and be like, hey, can't some fucking but I'm going to go make some toys now. For that to kind of, and at the time I felt like it was a massive step backwards to have to go back to the day job, but it was like, yeah, one day at the day job equals a shitload of toys. And I was like, I can do a fucking day or two at the day job easily. If that means at some point, if that just means I can buy more fucking resin, this is even before the vinyl stuff started to kind of happen. So I'm very fortunate that I kind of am in a position where I could step up and step down into those days. But absolutely, man, like, I was fucking bummed. I was like, what if I sort of stop? And I did stop for months there. And even that was just between moving and setting up a new space, and then just kind of like stopping the Patreon and just maybe sculpting this, like, beyond sitting on my iPad sculpting for, a couple of hours a week or something, I wasn't really doing toy stuff. So, yeah, I kind of got to a point of fear of like, what if I get to the point of like sculpting this and sending it to the factory and I get it and I'm burnt out still. The excitement hasn't come back. The momentum hasn't restarted or whatever. And yeah, it probably looks from the outside. I tried to keep it looking like I was like, yeah, I'm still doing stuff, and I definitely was experimenting with with painting and all that sort of shit. So it was absolutely time well spent. Even though it probably felt frustrating having to wait for this, but it gave me heaps of time to just experiment with paints. Also gave me heaps of time to not do fucking anything and be okay with that and be like, I've still got the energy there. It's still there. Like, I want to do this. I'm still interested in fucking vinyl. I'm still liking, seeing accounts on Instagram. I'm not completely burnt out from it, but it was more just giving myself permission to be like, nah, I'm good tonight. I'm not going to do anything. Or, when the vinyl comes, I'm definitely going to go into it. So maybe now just treat this as a holiday, the calm before the storm, because once the vinyls come, I'm either going to be very fucking busy or very bummed that I don't like what I produced and no one else likes it. And that's also the fear is, obviously I love it, but what the fuck am I going to do with 50 of these things if people don't buy them? So I was very lucky to have a sellout. I think the first weekend I released them. So that was a good sign. If that didn't happen, if that didn't happen, I would have been pretty confused. And that's everyone's fear. You invest all this money into something and then people just kind of go, yeah, it's okay. Or you get that, it happens with resin. Man, that's fucking sick, dude. I'll fucking buy that. When's it coming out? And then you're like, and then it comes out and like, where the fuck are you? They're like, oh, dude, sorry. So was it going to be another situation like that? And that happens. That's cool. Like that's people, encouraging you to do your work. You're getting fucking thumbs up and likes, and that keeps the train rolling. That's great. But that can't be the only reason. And there was something you kind of said the other day, Crumbs, and somehow I haven't gotten sick of this yet. Was so many different little places to paint, and that's what I was like. If this is super plain, then I'm gonna get real fucking bored. So make lots of different areas to paint, and obviously, like Safubis in general are pretty like busy, crazy kind of things. So it was like, nah, got to keep it like, got to have different fucking bits to paint, man, like different sort of bubbles and stitches and pipes and robot shit and hair. And
you kind of nailed it. I think we see both extremes, but that's something that definitely resonates in my opinion, that it keeps that like in that vinyl realm, is all the different textures, man, like adding in those little bumps and warts and stuff on the skin, really making this character like really giving it life, really giving it a lot of different elements. And like you said, even to paint that, dude, like I'm really stoked to see some of the mashup paint apps that people are going to hit with that. Like,
yeah,
it's bound to be fucking exciting.
It'll look sick, man. Yeah, I'm really keen to see what people do with it. Because I've kind of got this like vague kind of picture in my head of like where colors go and how colors like work on him, and there's obviously kind of like rules in my kind of fucking head around what color should be what placed where. But yeah, I'm really excited to kind of see what people can kind of do with it, and even like the clear ones as well. Like I kind of they come fucking sick once they've been glossed up. Like they are so shiny and clear and nice. But looking at like Plagued Earth, like all the crazy shit that he puts in his like moon dons, I'm like, what is that? Like I'm like, I haven't like messaged him yet to be like, dude, tell me exactly what object you've put in there and how you've made it look. He's got like a really like feathery kind of almost like a feather boa. I was like, that's fucking sick. And then I realized instantly, I was like, that looks sick in the moon dome because it's got these big smooth surfaces, and I was like, okay, so you just can't stuff anything in anything and make it look fucking cool. Like and that's where I slowed down buying all the pom-poms and shit off fucking Temu and AliExpress, because I was like, I've got a bit much here and I need to think this stuff through a bit more.
Is that in part why you went with the clears, to be able to put some stuff in there?
Yeah, totally. Also, it looks like fucking clear resin. Like it looks so cool, and like they do come up so clear. But 100%, man, I was like, I want to see what else we can fucking jam in these things and stuff full of them. I also thought like, if they look kind of shitty, just paint over them. But they've definitely been my favorite. I think I've got a couple of extra clear, but yeah, once I feel like I'm low, I'm probably going to pull those couple from the shop and use them and paint them and stuff other stuff inside them. I think I've got another one here. So this is another, sorry, man. I know I keep fucking with you like jump in the window.
People would rather see this than me, man. 110%.
So this is just like some streamer stuff again from Temu. So I don't really know what to do with this one yet. I don't know what kind of colors to put on there. That's just been sitting on my desk.
It's so crazy though how just those simple things, you pop them in there, you throw a little bit of accent paint, and holy shit, does it really pop, man?
Yeah, it's unreal, and I think that's the key is like with the especially with the less is more kind of approach is yeah, trying to kind of get that thing where you can have something that's got heaps of pop that you can like, oh, how did you do that? Heaps of angles, and you're like, it's not paint, it's just some reflective shit, and then yeah, a couple of spurts of airbrush paint, but yeah, finding the right kind of like texture, finding the right kind of like holographic thing that'll sort of like pop, because you also don't really want what's inside to be that easily identifiable. I'm not sure if that's maybe just me. You kind of want it to be
unless you do. Yeah, you know, like it's almost like you don't unless you do.
Yeah.
I saw recently Plagued Earth did one where there's a bunch of little clownfish in there, and it takes a second, but once you clue in, you're like, oh, you know what? Like it's okay. You can tell they're clownfish.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you with like the strand stuff. If you just looked at it and you immediately know, that does kind of ruin the illusion a little bit.
Yeah, and it also depends, you know, what you're going for. I saw some what were they? Plastic like lays, like Hawaii necklace, flower necklace things, and I was like, oh, sick. I didn't get them. That was from like a cheap sort of $2 shop, and then all day I was like, that would have been fucking so cool, because how the colors kind of like work, little gradients, and if you jam enough in there, you really wouldn't be able to tell like, what is that? Is that like paper? Or I think we'll have to go back and get them. But I don't think they were just a little bit chunky for my sculpt, but I think they were like $2, so I might just go back. But yeah, it's also just like looking at random shit, being like, what else can we fucking jam in there? Like, got anything cool?
I suffer with that, man. I often look around wondering, can I jam it in there? It's one of the biggest issues I have, probably. Oh, jeez. With that, hey B, since you're in here, you want to try and get a question in real quick?
What's up, Sam?
Yo,
nice to see you, man. I'm probably gonna get kicked out here in another minute. I don't know what's going on, dude. I've literally gone through everything. StreamYard seems to be the only thing I'm having a problem with. But anyways, yeah, man, this is dope. I know you've been talking about this. I mean, shit, that's dope, right?
Thanks, man.
I love how StreamYard.
What you been up to?
Oh, not much, man. Just hanging out. Been pretty chill.
Nice.
Nah, it's been good. There he goes. Thanks, B. Thanks for popping in, man.
Oh my goodness. Dude, you mentioned earlier the Maba stalkers that Dr. Plops had done. Obviously, you've done some resin renditions of those. Do you think you would ever scale down your Beans figure and do little resin casts of those at all?
Ooh. I hadn't thought about that. Probably not.
I mean, he exists now.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I feel like any version of it that I like print or cast is just sort of like the prototype, kind of like sketches. But I actually hadn't really thought about it, because I was so focused on sort of going to vinyl, that I hadn't kind of thought about it going back to any kind of like resin. I also think because I know where the bubbles were when I made the mold, so I'm like, I'm not putting this in resin again, because I know exactly where I'm going to get the bubbles, even though I could just make new molds and fucking do it differently.
More time, more money, more energy.
Yeah, and it's really the point, and kind of started to hit a bit of a groove with like what colorways I want coming out, like. And that is probably the hardest bit, is like, yeah, fucking rad, I got these 2 colorways. It's like, you got to be thinking like, what's the next one coming? And but also, do you got to be thinking that, because like, fucking, it's a vinyl, man, like it's here now, like there's no kind of like rush. So it is that sticking between that, like, you've got to build a bit of hype and excitement and keep momentum and keep the page growing, all that kind of fucking bullshit on Instagram. But at the same time, I think that's been the really nice thing, is like, these are here now. I can get around to them when I get around to them. There isn't this like, I need to keep this like schedule like going. It's like it's a pay to play thing, and I'm fucking paid and I'm playing, but I can play at my own pace now.
See, I was actually going to ask, are you currently looking at your next order, or are you waiting until you sell these and you'll go from there?
No. Oh, definitely thinking about my next order. And I was thinking about like, do I like fucking spill the beans today, or I did not plan that. Yeah, I'll tell you. I'm gonna do a glow in the dark. Actually, maybe someone can fucking help, because I don't know if Bootleg Toyco is in the chat or someone, but so gonna get glow in the dark beans. I don't have it, like I haven't actually ordered them yet, but this is the plan. So I get a glow in the dark version, and trying to decide whether go for a, you know, kind of standard yellow/green glow in the dark, like green, I guess, or blue, because both are cool, both fucking glow really bright, but I was like, do we kind of want to mix it up a little bit, go for a blue? So that'll be half of the order, and then the other half will be a triple marble. However, I am not going to say what the colors are. I've got to leave something to chew on for the next couple of months. But yeah, not going to wait till these sell out, just because I'm impatient and like I want to see this shit in different fucking colors. The downside to getting a vinyl made in like a darker kind of like purple like this, yes, it looks lovely. However, little bit tricky to kind of do some of those like rub kind of jobs, and black wash sort of things. I really haven't tried it that much. I was a little bit kind of intimidated by using, this is really weird, by using fucking lacquer acrylic paints and paint thinner and shit like that, like rubbing all that all over it just kind of like spooked me out. I was like, am I going to ruin the vinyl? Am I going to like fuck something up? Also, something else I learned, lacquer paint thinner or lacquer thinner eats everything, like eats the fuck out of plastic things. I had it in a bottle, squirt bottle. The bottle was like just slowly like pushing the stuff out, melted like a fucking ring in my spray booth. That shit is hardcore. Do research before just pouring it in shit. I didn't. Melt lots of plastic, little plastic mixing cup, and then pour that into the airbrush. And then all of a sudden the airbrush is like spraying these thin plastic strands. It's like, what is this?
That sounds like a fucking nightmare, man.
Oh, dude, like this is like.
How did you clean out your airbrush from that?
I just kept pumping through the thinner, and it just kept
Oh my
going. Like
God.
I was like, and it took a couple of goes because I'd have like multiple. So this happened when I was painting the 1B held up, the day one version.
Yeah.
And I think I was painting the tanks, and I'm like, as it went along, I looked at them and I'm like, the first couple are okay, but then they just have this weird fucking, it's like a really thin like spider web almost.
Webbing. Yeah.
And I was like, what is going on? Like, I'm looking at the paints, and then I looked at the cup, and then I tilted the cup a little bit and just went, what is that? And it was like liquid plastic on the bottom of the, and I was like, oh my God. And then looked at the brush, and then I just sat there and just poured. Yeah. And then had to like get the tanks. I'm pretty sure I like brushed them all off. That was the good thing. Like the actual plastic shit didn't just kind of like, it was so thin that you could just like brush it off quickly and it was gone. And luckily the paint, whatever paint it was mixed with, had sort of dried reasonably quick and didn't leave too much. But fucking do not put paint thinner in plastic cups. It's almost like it's got a mind of its own. Even if this squirt bottle thing, it was obviously reacting with the plastic in the squirt bottle or something. So it was pushing itself out. So each day I'd come out, I'm like, there's fucking paint thinner everywhere, and I'd move shit and it like melted. I'm like, what?
Oh, man.
So yeah, do research with paint thinner, because that shit is fucking, yeah. I just thought it was like metho, it just evaporates all this, but no, different beast.
Damn, dude. And what's the drying time like?
Pretty good. Like,
yeah.
So going from acrylics to these is pretty amazing. I think that's obviously a massive appeal with the lacquer paints, is the drying time is pretty quick. I always thought acrylic paints dried really quick, but like compared to lacquer, and I think just probably like the coverage you get from the lacquer paints as well is the difference.
Yeah,
but
it's so thin and evenly coated, you know.
Yeah, and like straight from the bottle, like even like the acrylics I was using. So I was using a lot of Vallejo acrylics, which were great, and they were sort of good from the bottle. They were never good from the. Always had to thin them.
Agreed.
Which was fine, which was a really good sort of process to learn of how to use it. But yeah, using these ones straight from the bottle, it was just like, holy shit. I haven't had a blockage in my airbrush since, I might have had a bit of a build up, but I think I actually just forgot to put my compressor on, and it was just
Yeah.
it wasn't blocked. I just didn't have any air.
Okay.
But that was the greatest thing going from, because you'd spend half your time, 90% of the time airbrushing is cleaning, especially with acrylics. I was constantly cleaning. But yeah, with the lacquer paint, I was like, oh shit. I was terrified of using chemicals, paint thinner, all this sort of stuff. I just didn't really want to introduce any more chemicals into my environment. I've got plenty as is, but then yeah, once I actually started to paint, being like, holy shit, this stuff doesn't block as long as you close the stuff at the end, the shit evaporates. But yeah, no blockage, the coverage you get. The occasional, I've had a bit of trouble with metallics. Anyone using SMS paint, do not get spearmint green, I think it is. It's a beautiful color. It's a metallic green, sort of like spearminty, turquoisey color. It doesn't fucking push through the airbrush unless you're using like a 0.05 tip or something like that. Do not paint with this shit. Otherwise, all the other brands are great. A little bit of thinning here and there, but yeah, learning how that paint works. And yeah, just the dry time. Even like if you fuck it up, it still kind of looks okay. Like if you're kind of like, oh no, once it sort of like dries and settles, you kind of like, oh shit, you can't actually see what happened. Whereas I feel like acrylics, once you fuck up, like it's pretty obvious. And then if you try to kind of, you couldn't really like thin it up, it would just be shit. I feel like lacquer is just a little bit more forgiving in that way, but yeah, no, I really enjoy it. And actually, like the coolest thing is just the crazy metallic
I
gradients
was
and
thinking
shit.
that earlier. Yeah,
Yeah,
like I'm sure some of the dudes, like if you're using acrylic, you can do like the dragonfly paints that have like their color shifts and stuff. Some of the dudes will use like the color shifting automotive paint.
yeah.
But I was looking at that earlier, thinking like, damn, dude, such a good selection of metallics.
Yeah, you with yeah, obviously with the acrylics, you just can't get that, yeah, like you said, like that color shift stuff, and this stuff doesn't show up in the camera. But yeah, there's this color, what's it called, quasar, and it's like this blue, black, and green. It's fucking awesome. I'm trying to use it as much as possible without looking like I'm using it too much. But yeah, you just can't replicate that stuff with acrylics, and then once you hit it with this, what is it, Mr. Clear, Mr. Spray, Mr. Clear, something UV cut gloss, and that just like turns up the fucking the sparkle and that sort of stuff. Because they do look really cool before they're
Swear.
glossed, but then you just
You-
kind of like put it on, and it is like it sparkles. It's insane.
I've heard a couple of the vinyl dudes use the Mr. Clear and really really like it. Do you spray it before you apply your paint as well, or just afterwards?
No, I do it afterwards.
Yeah.
That was, yeah, like this is the thing I was reaching out to local dudes, being like, when do I like clear coat it? When does it go on? Like, what can I put on if I fucking realize I fucked something up? Can I like touch it up? Like, how's this sort of work? But yeah, I'll wait till everything's like painted and then put it on top. I don't think I sold any, but there was a couple I realized I'd like missed a wire or something, and I was like, oh, I painted it, and kind of got away with like a tiny little touch up without having to like add more like clear coat and stuff. So again, reasonably forgiving. But I think I was talking about like a fucking minute detail that only I would have realized was unpainted. But again, pay to play. These fucking cans are like 200 grams, 200 mils or whatever. It's like $30 or 27.8. So that is probably the most expensive thing in the long run is going to be this clear coat shit. Like obviously the vinyls, the molds are really expensive, but in 1 year's time, I reckon if I add up the amount of money I've spent on clear coat versus the amount of money spent actually like creating the toy, they're probably going to be like on par, because it's basically a dismantled toy getting every kind of like surface of that piece. So 6 pieces. It's almost going through like one of those cans. I say almost because I could maybe be overdoing it a little bit. But yeah, definitely like the majority of one of them cans just a clear coat one. So being a bit more creative around that, like, is it better to assemble them and then clear coat them? Although the paint is a little bit more fragile before it's been clear coated. So it can be like, which way do we do this?
Could you imagine like assembling one and just literally taking off a bunch of the paint? Or I'm the king of getting resin on everything, dude. So knowing my luck, there'd just be like irremovable fucking resin on there.
Yeah, I did exactly that. So I'll show you.
Also, Akasha Records brings it up. They're wondering if in Australia you guys have vinyl fishing lure paint.
Ooh,
Because that might be a little cheaper, and obviously fishing lure paint goes through a hell of a beating.
Genius. I love that because obviously people in Australia fucking love fishing. So I really hope
You don't have water there.
that Mum's got a pool, man. No, she doesn't. That's actually really good. Like, yeah, fishing lure vinyl paint because yeah, that's a thing. I love that. Going back to what you were saying, Crumbs. Yes, can I imagine assembling, like painting something, clear coating it, and then fucking it up? I did exactly that on the last or second last day one bean. So I put them all together, and the head. I don't know whether my mind wandered. I was very careful. Like it took me. I think I reassembled these over a few days. So I was like, just do one or two a night because if you get too carried away, so scared of fucking them up. And it wasn't until like I think the last or the second last one that I was assembling that I don't even know if I slipped or if I just did it at the wrong angle, but I fucked up a bit of paint. I've actually repaired it now, but there's like a tiny little, you can kind of see a little divot there. So I was like, fuck, I can't repaint one. I can't sell one that's got this little divot. Even if I patch it, it just doesn't look right. So I was like, that's okay. So I pulled the head off the paint master that I sort of painted and used and put that and replaced it. So somewhere out there, someone has the Bean paint master head, which is just a smidge different. I taped up around the cyborg bit, but on first glance you really can't tell any difference. But someone out there has the paint master head.
Yeah, I was gonna say for most collectors, that's now like the doper one to have.
Yeah, and I honestly have no idea which one it went to. I didn't sort of document it and track it, who went to who. But yeah, that is the thing, and that is probably the most nerve-wracking, anxiety-inducing part is that reassembly. So these ones that I painted with the purple in the bottom, I painted these as is. These guys, I just painted the arms separately just because they were a bit easier to kind of paint. So yes, lots of anxiety for me putting these arms on today. Yeah. But it was also just harder to kind of paint it all assembled. Like it was cool, it was fun. You can probably use a bit more economical with clear coat just because it's all one kind of thing. But yeah, just made it a little bit harder to paint, and also constantly paranoid that I'm gonna like get fucking paint on my hands, touch it, and then obviously you could just get the paint off, but you want to keep it as pristine as you can. Yeah. What were we talking about?
Toys, always.
Nice.
Tiddy man, if you don't mind, dude, for any of those dudes watching, you've obviously been doing this for a little while, and you were talking earlier about kind of like that grace period when you're waiting for these in and keeping the page alive. What's maybe some words of advice you can give to them for things in between that period to keep the page alive or to keep themselves even motivated to be posting and keeping the page alive?
Keep the page alive if you want, but like, who gives a fuck if you don't? Like, yeah, as long as you're okay with a little bit of a decline in followers, and as long as you don't take that as a way, still don't take it as a community like fucking ditching me, turning your back, anything like that. But yeah, like I kind of saw that as well. I think just posting like anything, and this is words of advice that I'm pretty sure came from Toys on Tap. Is just that, like, doesn't matter what it is, just kind of keep one post going a week, whether it's about toys, whether it's about something you're working on, whether it's like a flashback kind of thing, just keeping your name kind of in circulation. I was really paranoid about, I don't know why, I think I was just kind of like putting so much work into it. I was really paranoid about showing off too many like photos of work in progress and what I was working on. And I think I was also really scared that if I never followed through with getting the vinyl done, but I told everyone, I was like, oh, working on this vinyl, fucking painting this up at the moment, this is going to be sick. And I never did it. Like that was a big fear, but just fucking post anything, man. Just keep the page in circulation. But if you don't give a shit and you're okay losing a couple of followers over a period of time and just not seeing your page grow, and because once you start posting more regularly, the numbers do increase. And that's exactly what happened with my account. I didn't get new followers for fucking months, and they just kept going down. You get 2 and then 3 leave. And I just stopped looking. I just stopped like giving a shit about that number. And that was a good thing because I put that time into sculpting or painting or just watching TV or just taking the dog for a walk or something like that. So, but yeah, don't let your fucking follower count be a reflection of like your artistic integrity or your fucking skill or anything like that. There are so many sick artists out there that are on like 1,000 fucking followers, and they don't give a shit because they don't need that validation. They've got their own validation. Like they're sick of what they do and they know it, and they'll keep doing it. So, but yeah, don't let the fucking count be a reflection. Don't let your fucking likes also be a reflection of your art, because shit's just not getting around like it used to. Like really cool work just not getting put in people's faces until 3 days later, and shit like that. So just kind of don't even try. Just make cool shit, and fucking if people see it, that's good. But if they don't, it's still cool. Like if it's cool to you.
Damn.
Is that
I
like a
like
good
that.
pep talk?
That was good, man. Yeah, holy shit. I'm pretty sure I ended up hearing somebody yell freedom just a moment ago as well. It was fucking just belted out from over there. They were hearing you and they're like, fuck yeah. Dude, I've got this page up in front of me here, and you've worked with a couple different artists, the backers that you've done over the period of like your time.
Mhm.
Educate us on this beautiful
Oh,
header card that you've done.
yes.
How'd you end up landing on this?
Holy shit. Thanks so much, Crumbs. I would have been so cut if I didn't shout out Karma Void. Yeah, so where have I got? Where have I put them?
Oh, do you have like the original over there?
No.
Ah.
I just got to put one out just so I can like.
Oh, okay. Oh, damn, look at
yeah.
that. You're a pro. Folded it like nothing.
Yeah, these professionally printed, so they already had like a little crease there. Yeah, so with the header card, I'm pretty sure maybe like when I was halfway through like sculpting the head or something like that, and when I was oscillating between, is this going to be vinyl, is this going to be resin, is this going to be something that I'm going to like sell, or is this going to be something just for my shelf? And once the kind of piece started to come together over those sort of couple of months, I started looking at it and I was like, dude, and Karma Void, I think, was coming up a bit on my feed. I think he'd been doing some animation work, so he was like posting a fair bit. And I was like, fuck, this character would look sick, like, yeah, like through his lens. So I think once I definitely knew it was going to be vinyl, I was like, yep, Karma Void's the guy. There wasn't this sort of like, I'm going to cast a net, I'm going to do some fucking tryouts for who wants to like make my header card. It's going to be like, no, I'm just going to ask Karma Void, and I'm going to be pretty a bit better at giving direction. Like I just didn't want to kind of be like, yeah, make us a header card. So I took a bunch of photos. The thing that was holding up getting the header card done was deciding on like what the final colorway should be. So I contacted Calm and was like, hey man, I really want you to do this vinyl header card. I think I'd send him some photos of the sculpt just to give him a bit of an idea. And I was like, but I don't really know what I want his like default colorway to be. So I'll get back to you. And after a couple of months, and there was also a point I was kind of like waiting for the factory, because the factory were kind of like, oh no, we've hit a snag. Sorry, we can't produce this. I didn't want Karma Void working on something that he did, that's not going to come out. I'll be honest, I also didn't want to pay Karma Void to do something that was never going to come out. So it was like, kind of had to wait for a couple of these steps to be in place to 100% sure that I was going to actually make this vinyl, or that the factory can make it. And then the name, I'm pretty sure the name just came from when the factory were like, oh, so we just need, what's the character's name so we can kind of put it on the invoice or whatever. I was like, Bean. And I was just like, I'll get around to like either changing that. And then it just kind of like stuck in my head, and I was like, well, try and make it like an acronym. And it actually took me a while to kind of like work out what all the letters should stand for. But yeah, sort of going back to Karma Void. So sick Australian dude. He does a lot of animation work with what studio? I don't know if it's like Adult Swim or one of the ones, but they do. If anyone knows like YOLO or Siggy Butt Brain or Koala Man, or fuck, there's a big one I'm missing.
How do you
but just
not know Koala Man or fucking YOLO?
yeah,
Both are pretty big, man. Did he do Super Jail?
I wasn't
too,
sure
right?
like, are they big outside of Australia? Because like the original like YOLO and YOLO 2 fucking videos by Michael Cusack are some of the funniest fucking things. But I wasn't sure if that would translate out of Australia.
Fair, yeah.
I don't know why I was rambling on about that. But yeah, so he was always in my mind, took a couple of photos, sent it off to him. And I'm pretty sure he turned this around within like a week or something, and this is just as I think the factory was sending the vinyls or had just sent me pictures of the box. And he's like, oh man, it'll take me like a couple of weeks. And I was like, yeah, man, no rush. And then yeah, within like a week he turned it around, and he absolutely nailed it. Like I didn't have to give him any, I didn't really have to give him any sort of direction, just send him a couple of pictures, did a really kind of quick sketch of like how I kind of wanted him to kind of be there and have a little bit of a finger and stuff hanging over the side. And even the colors of like the purple and like the reddy sort of like pink, I didn't give him any of that. He obviously just sort of picked it up from the photos that I'd sent and kind of gleamed it from there, I believe the word is. So yeah, I love it. And it's just so fucking cool just being like, sweet, I've got like 100 of these now. I don't have to worry about like getting something new. I don't have to worry about getting them printed. You just get them professionally printed. I think it was like maybe $100 for 100 or something, or maybe a little bit less. And yeah, that's good to go. The factory, Fubu factory, also send the toys with bags, so I didn't have to worry about sourcing like bags.
Oh, damn.
They're kind of like those heavy duty ones. B could attest to it if he was here. So that was really good. Bootleg Toy Co. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they give you fucking heaps. So I was like, awesome. All I have to do once they're finished painting, sealed, all that photos taken, bag them up and send them off. And that is such a nice feeling, not having to worry about, oh, do I have enough Mylar bags? Is the toy going to go in the bag? What's going to happen with the paint? Different size, all that sort of shit. So that's another handy thing by going through Rabbit Giant. They trim all the excess fucking vinyl and shit. They provide the bags. Yeah, that's good. But yeah, Karma Void absolutely killed it with that header card. Like, I love his work. Would work with him again, and strongly encourage anyone wanting to get sort of any artwork done. He kind of runs the gamut from still kind of stuff, digital stuff, fucking hand-drawn shit. Like he's awesome. Does lots of band sort of t-shirt, poster design work.
Admittedly, there's probably a lot of the homies who they've never maybe reached out to another artist because they don't even really know how to breach that conversation. Like how do you approach another artist like that for doing visual work for you?
Yeah, so this is probably like one of the first times I'm sure I've worked with someone. I hope I have. I'm sure I've worked with someone and like actually like employed them or like contracted them. Maybe a lot of the time it really has just been like a bit of a trade situation. Like, hey man, can you do this? And I'll send you like, a couple of figures at the end. So if I think about like my collaboration with Hence to Meet, like that was, he would sort of do the backer art, and then I'd send him a couple of cards. So I think this was like the first time that I would officially employed an artist to kind of like do this. And I think it really is just as simple as like reaching out and just kind of like saying, hey, I think first, do you have capacity to, are you taking on any commissions at the moment? Do you, have this sort of, do you have time? Because you don't want to kind of get 40 minutes deep into a fucking message and they're like, sorry, dude, I'm booked out till September. So do you have capacity? What do you charge? Like, do you charge, per piece? Is it going to kind of like, does it matter how sort of involved it is? Try not to be too scared to ask questions. Like that artist should hopefully want to answer as many questions to make the job go as smoothly as they kind of can. So I think, be honest, if you don't have a clear idea of what you're kind of like looking for, just kind of like be honest. And the artist, and I'm pretty sure Karma Void said this, there was a point where I was like struggling to nail down the colorway, and I was like, oh man, I might kind of like lean on you a bit to look into some of the like the colorway stuff. And as a professional that he was like, oh, and he suggested a couple of I guess sources to look at sort of different colorways for different characters. So rather him just kind of being like, oh man, yeah, I'll put in extra work, it was like, no, the dude did exactly what he should have done and said. He didn't say this verbally, but it was like, basically, you haven't paid me yet, we haven't committed to a job yet, so I'm actually probably not going to start doing shit, but I can show you where you can maybe find some resources around or some inspiration around that. And I did, and I think I was like looking to kind of get him to kind of be like, oh, I'm sure he'll put his spin on it and cool, I'll use that colorway. But and I'm really glad that he sort of gave that little bit of a pushback, redirected me somewhere else, because then I landed on the actual colorway that I wanted. Did I go through the resources and the ways that he said? Probably not, but I think it was just enough for him to kind of push back and be like, no, man, check out these sort of books. And I was like, cool, all right, I am going to jump into this. I can't rely on someone else. I don't need to rely on someone else. but I'm kind of glad that I tested the waters. But yeah, I think be honest. If you don't have an idea of what you're like actually looking for, just be honest about that and say, hey man, I am wanting to release something at some point. This is kind of a vague idea. Would love feedback, but totally get it if you don't fucking have time at the moment, or you don't sort of start working until you get your fee, which is totally fair enough. But yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions, and definitely about fees. You know, what's it going to be? Is it okay? How long is this going to take? You know, if you can't financially afford it, I don't know, don't expect someone to do work. Because you think your vinyl is awesome, don't expect them to be able to accept that as like payment. I can't take this to my wife and pay fucking rent with a vinyl. I need money for that. So don't be offended if someone says, no, I'm actually not going to accept a job for a trade of something I can sit on my shelf when I actually need money to pay for food. So yeah,
I think
if
that's
you
pretty
want to
valid.
offer, yeah, if you want to send that artist one of these at the end of the day, as a present or a token of appreciation, absolutely budget that in if you need to or whatever, but don't expect them to be cool with accepting a vinyl as payment, because they don't need to, and they shouldn't. Like they're doing work, and it's great that you're passionate about your vinyl, but it's their job, and that's okay.
You actually bring up a great point, because I'm sure this happens to you quite often. How do you have that conversation when somebody reaches out and they want to trade?
Mm. Um, Look, it hasn't happened for a while. It did, and I'll be pretty transparent. Like, Meadow Knight reached out when I'd sort of, I think, announced that I had the vinyl or released them, whichever way it happened. And I'll be honest, like I was kind of like, oh, see what's in Angela's store before kind of like 100% saying, yep, let's lock it in, and looked at it, and I think she had a couple of scare wolves on sale, and I was like, yep, yeah, cool. I actually would really like to paint one of those. So I actually bought an extra one just to kind of make it a bit more worth it. So that worked out really well. And I think it's been so long since someone else has wanted to trade with me that I actually can't really remember. I think I got actually quite lucky when people have wanted to trade, that they've either been pretty fucking cool and I'll be like, yeah, I'll trade that. You're kind of getting ripped off, but I'm making out like a bandit here. So cool. But it is a really tough conversation, and I think it's such an individual thing. It depends on who you are as a person, how you deal with kind of like knocking people back. But I think at the end of the day, not telling how people should feel, but like, yeah, if you're not comfortable with the trade, just sort of say, nah, sorry, I don't have enough stock. I don't know, just fucking lie or something, but don't sort of do it. If you're going to trade, just fully know that what you get back might not be as good as what you sent. And I think that is the whole thing around, you know, what value do you put on something? What value does the person on their end put on something? Do we kind of see it? They see my thing is really valuable. Do I see their thing as that valuable? Yeah. Am I just going to go along with this because I feel fucking too awkward to like say no? Probably. But if something is really kind of shit, there's probably going to be like, sorry, I don't have enough stock, or something like that. And that's okay. And if someone gets pissy that you can't fucking trade, then I don't know, just fucking stop asking people to trade, or something. I don't know.
Right.
It's a weird thing, man. Like,
I think
I
it's
think,
pretty valid to just be like, I gotta get money for this dude. Sorry.
and that's totally
You
fine.
know?
Whether that's vinyl, whether that's resin, whether that's a fucking t-shirt, like, I think it's totally fine for people to say no, and look, I think for the most part, I think people are pretty okay with it.
We're all
Um,
humans.
yeah, I think I probably just wasn't expecting how quickly someone reached out to trade the vinyl, and so it was kind of like, oh shit, I actually hadn't even thought about this. That's why I did the research. That's why I went to Angie's store. That's why I kind of actually,
Right.
I'll be honest, I looked at, you know, how much is she selling a blank for versus how much I'm selling a blank for. Like, do this kind of shit. If you are a little bit like, oh, I could trade, do a bit of fucking research. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, and if you like what you see, then do what I did, make the postage more worth it, pay for an extra one, that way you got one to paint and one to fucking put on the shelf. Like, but honestly, I don't reach out. I don't know if I've ever initiated a trade with someone. If I have, I probably was pretty green at the time, but it's not something I would generally reach out to people. I think it's it's just not my style. I'd rather pay for something. I'd rather the artist gets paid.
Have
If
you
I
ever
miss,
Have you ever bought something and then somebody slid into your DMs and they were like, "Hey, I saw you bought this, but like I actually want a couple of your pieces. Do you want me to
Oh,
refund you?" And we'll just like, has that ever happened for you?
I don't think that's happened. Nah,
No,
no,
eh?
nah. And yeah, to be honest, man, like I haven't sold many toys since probably in the last 2 years.
Moving and
Since
stuff.
the
Yeah.
final and stuff like that, that was sort of good in the Patreon. But like, yeah, as for like sort of like purchases from the Etsy, slowed down massively for like a good year or two. Yeah, which was okay. Like I was obviously doing other work, but so yeah, a lot of those sort of like deals between multiple figures and trading with other artists. I feel like that stuff happened way more like in the from
At the beginning.
2020 to like 2022 or 2023, and yeah, but I felt like you'd hear like a lot of artists getting hit up for trades, and I was like, fuck, no one's really asking me. Like, my shit just shit. And then kind of sometimes hearing about the experiences after those trades, I was like, I think I'm kind of cool not being reached out to about this because it can test a friendship. Like if you've got a good rapport with someone online, and then you kind of be like, oh, like we're buds, but are we buds, or do we kind of want to mess with this friendship and that sort of thing? So I think I got pretty lucky. I'm pretty sure I did a trade with Vomit. Now we're actually talking about it, and like that was probably like one of the best ones because Vomit's like me. He's like a dude to be like, yeah, I'll send you this toy, and then he just throws in all these fucking different bears and different like weird sort of things. So yeah, I think that was probably a time where I felt like I got away way better than him.
No, you were mentioning your Etsy store. I've got it pulled up here, dude. Because obviously you're gonna be doing a drop on Monday. You mentioned,
Yeah.
but you do have a couple of these guys in the store. Only two of these guys left in the store here, and you were even saying you might pull.
Mm.
How
Yeah,
many are
so
you sitting on left of purples and clears?
put it all into one bag. So there's like four. I think there's three purple tanks. I actually haven't laid these out and like counted them. So there's about three purple tanks. So I'd say there's three purple. And then I've got another three in the shop. So I'd say six purple. And then I think there's about four clear tanks there, plus two in the shop. Yeah, so maybe it's like six of each.
Crazy
again,
how quickly you go through them.
Oh, like I was saying this earlier, I do not know what I've done with them. Like they're obviously like scattered around the room. Like there's ones that I painted as practice. There's ones that I sort of fucked up. But and I counted these when I like unboxed them. There was over 50. There was like maybe one of extra of each. But yeah, at the moment I'm like, where have they all gone? I've only like I think like 8 have like left the premises in total. I'm like, so there should be at least 42 of these fucking things here. And I'm like, I can see about 8 of them right now. And I'm like, where are the rest? There's 12 like in that box there. There's still like 20, at least 20 unaccounted for. And I'm pretty sure they're just fucking between the toy room here and the studio out in the outside. They're here. But it is that really weird thing. And yeah, suddenly I wanted to be like, yeah, I'm going to be really experimental with this shit. And then it was sort of like these almost starting to feel like they're like hen's teeth now, like they're quite rare. Do I want to keep like a whole? Do I just want to bag up like 2 or 3 blanks and then like sort of stuff them away in the back of the cupboard just as like a old archivey kind of samples? So yeah, you start to kind of consider that shit, and that sort of like makes the pieces changes their value almost. It was kind of like, oh, this needs to be an archive piece now, and even signing them, like, do I actually need to sign the vinyls? Like, is that like a thing? I didn't actually put a box on the header card, which I'm kind of regretting now. I saw on I think it was Jonathan Queen's, yeah, Bat Boy thing.
And you can put numbering and a quick little
yeah.
sign.
Yeah.
Like, who thinks of these though? You know?
Yeah, that's it.
Next time.
A little bit gutted about that, but yeah. What were we talking about?
I think we're kind of talking about how many of these things you have left to be able to sell based on what your Etsy's got there, because currently, apparently 5 of you fuckers want these. So
yeah, I did actually look at the Etsy tool. I think it was like last night. I was like, oh, that's cool. There's a couple in the basket, which is nice. But yeah, absolutely. If anyone watching, just know that if I feel like my reserves are getting low, they're coming straight from the shop. And I do need to drop some into this is not a toy store as well. So whether I'll maybe take some of these blanks and do a couple of painted ones. I'm not sure, but definitely want to get some blanks in there, so that they may come out of the old Tiddy Bean Etsy. But yeah, I'm kind of I'm also tossing up whether to get another clear run as well, like get the glow in the dark, get the triple marble, and then I was like clear ones because they're just fucking cool, man. I'm like, oh, that's another like cost. Do I wait till I sell a bit more? So yeah, this is shit you just do not. I'd never thought this way with resin. Resin, you just do it till you get sick of it because it's so fucking cheap once you actually like got your resin and doing it properly and that sort of thing. But yeah, this time it's like fuck, and we're going away in October to Thailand for a couple of weeks, so it's also like shit. We want to save. I also want to get some fucking new vinyls, but
might want to bring a couple with you.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Definitely going to take a couple with me. So probably want to get that new batch in before that, so we can kind of do some promo shots on the beach and shit. Just be walking around in my fucking bikini and that kind of thing, which would be nice. Really put the titty in titty.
I think maybe the bean, putting the bean in titty bean. Flex that bean out there.
So that's the vinyl, which has been pretty fucking cool. I also have some. The first vinyl show that it'll appear in will be in Brisbane, so in Australia, but I won't be there in person. I'm pretty sure this is the start of October. So it's the Molded show. I believe it's curated by Station City Toys, so local dude, and with a place up there. Pretty sure it's called Netherworld Arcade. So I think it's like a bit of an arcade kind of cool place to hang out. So this will give you a bit of an idea. He's not actually going to be on sale, but this will give you an idea of the type of paint job I'm going to do. I'm keeping this one because it's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's fucking sick as hell. Is that all resin bits inside?
No, that's paint. So you can't really.
No way.
Yeah. So I did. What did I do? I did like a bunch of lacquer paint. What was it, like a hollow? So it was like a bit of a sparkly kind of one. So I did a couple of droplets in there, would move it around. Obviously, the top half isn't on, so it's just the tank by itself. Sort of manipulating it, moving it around, wait for it to dry, and then I chucked in like the green, and then sort of did the same thing, waited for it to dry, and then chucked in the pink and kind of like move it around, and then chucked in the black, and then obviously the black gives any of that sort of like sparkly shit the background, so it doesn't really show up on the camera. But
what a sick effect, man.
It looks really fucking cool. And this one, I think I fluked it a little bit because I've done another couple of these and I just haven't been able to quite get that contrast, that real pop. Because what can happen is obviously when these lacquer paints go on with each other, they reactivate, so then they start like melting and just sort of blending into each other. With acrylics, you don't have that. Acrylics just fucking stack. But yeah, with this lacquer paint, I was like, oh, so some of the internal colors are just look a little bit fucking messy. But it's also the same with the arms and the head. So that's just pink paint, but it kind of gives this really kind of weird translucent kind of thing.
It looks rad as fuck, man.
Yeah, come up good. So this was like one of the third ones I'd painted, I think, and was like, holy shit, this is so good. Stop painting it now because you're going to fuck it up. So like basically clear coated it, put it on my desk and went, all right, what we're going to do for Molded is that concept, but different colors. So I've got a green one, an orange one, and a yellow one. I still need to like work on the tanks a little bit. So that'll be coming up in a couple of months. But yeah, he's cool. But that was just like when you kind of discover another use for the clear one. So I think once I realized you can do some really crazy internal paint work, I was like, holy shit. But then was also scared of what's going to happen to the paint once the vinyl heats up and once I'm like putting this shit back together. Are they going to is the paint going to like peel off on the inside? So this one was okay, but we'll see what happens with the others. But once it's back together, it's all good. So it's all solid, but it's more just that flexing part when all the parts are moving and shit that could be a little bit of trouble. But it looks so cool. And I've seen, I know Pendragon released a couple of photos, that Power Rangers kind of dude that he's just done.
Yeah, I just saw those, yeah.
And it looks like he's done a bit of like the internal kind of like painting, but he's been really kind of, I don't actually know how he's done it, just maybe kind of like angling it, but he's only sort of done it where it's just like a little bit of a drop. It's not like covering the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's really fucking cool. It's very deceiving how hard that kind of like looks, because also when the paint sort of moves and when it stops and dries, that bit is going to be a bit darker than the rest of the paint. So you kind of have this bit of unevenness. So kind of giving that, like, to paint something internally, probably just using drops of paint and making like an even coat, it's really fucking difficult.
If you spray some of your Mr. Clear in with the paint when you go to pour it, it'll actually increase the drying time of it as well, exponentially. So like if you're trying to get like a nice good like blood running effect or anything, instead of it like staying viscous for so long, just spraying a couple sprays in and then pouring it, it'll help it kind of cure a little bit quicker.
Nice. I didn't even think about that, actually. Yeah, I could just spray that shit in as well. Or like,
It's actually trippy. Like if you can do it with acrylic paint, it might be a little bit different, but I'm assuming the Mr. Clear will have the same effect with that paint. But yeah, it should start to kind of cure it a little bit quicker, so that you're not sitting there like trying to. Cause let's be real, it's a viscous substance. It's like trying to keep it in one perfect way.
Yeah.
It's not really gonna happen.
And there was something, and I, again, probably should do some research about this, but what I found when I was sort of like doing shit like that, pouring the what is it? It's like hollow astral shift, really glittery, beautiful, fucking like metallic-y glitter sort of paint. But what happened was I'd probably overdo it, and I'd probably be a little bit patient. So I'd sort of do some, we'll do this, we'll leave it there, go inside, come back out in like an hour or two, not check if anything was dry, and then just like put more paint in. And that's when you sort of get those colors starting to clash. But then what I actually realized, when I'd sort of like leave it overnight, still with this like wet paint, maybe it was the plug that I had, maybe it was just a soft pull or something, but the fucking paint thinner, or like not the paint thinner, the actual paint sitting in the vinyl made it go really soft. And I could be just looking like a total dumbass, but it also could have just been the particular vinyl that I was working on just was a little bit softer, a bit of a softer pull. But so yeah, some of the chemical reactions of like leaving too much fucking paint in there at the same time overnight, I was like, oh shit. Still usable, but I was like, damn, I wasn't expecting that reaction. And I still don't really know if that was the thing. It could have just been a really soft clear piece, because the clear ones are a little bit softer than the purple ones. But yeah, another thing, I was like, holy shit, paint thinner, do not fuck with it unless you want to be fucked with. So or just like that type of paints. I'm so used to acrylics that you just forget that different chemicals do different crazy shit to shit.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I find it funny how often we're sitting like in our kitchens or in our homes and our small areas, like you've got the ventilation and shit, but we're pretending that these things we're mixing aren't incredibly hazardous or dangerous in any way. And meanwhile, it's like, no, like they're literally industrial supplies, like they're industrial chemicals for sure.
Yeah. There's a thing on Reddit last night of like, what's the most kind of like fucking dangerous hobbies to have that people don't really kind of think is sort of like dangerous or something. It was something kind of like that. And like third one down was kind of like resin work, like people kind of like using resin and being around like those chemicals, and absolutely wear a mask and that kind of shit. But you do resin for a bit, you stop wearing a mask. I'll be very fucking honest. I've not wore a mask to do resin other than like sanding, spray painting, clear coating, but actually like mixing resin. I know I'm taking my life in my own hands. But with airbrushing, lacquer paints, fucking mask up, ventilated spray booth, do not fuck with those chemicals. But I've got a feeling in like 20 years, yeah, they're going to be like, did you used to, we've been able to find some 3D printing resin pockets in your fucking lungs. And I'll be like, cool, can you like pull them out? And I want to like frame them because that's cool.
Yeah, it does make you wonder when things start not really working too properly. You're like, oh shit, is this why all those labels were there?
Yeah, and it's also like I fucking smoke, man. Like resin fumes, yes, 100%. But like, I can't sit there and like fully mask up and like everything, and then sit there and be like, better mask back up. It's like, come on.
Yeah,
anyway,
it gets in the way of the darts.
Be safe.
There it is. Tiddy, we're coming right up to that 2-hour mark here, man. I know you're clearly right in the middle of doing something. But before we let all these folks get on with their evening, why don't you remind us one more time what time that drop is happening on Monday and how they can acquire those?
Yeah, so on Monday at, I'm pretty sure I put 11 a.m. So they'll go to the Etsy. So we've got two types.
Who is 11 a.m.?
Oh, good question. My 11 a.m. Yeah, 11 a.m. Melbourne time, which would have been, I think it lines up with the time that we just caught up now. So that would be 6.
It will be 11 a.m. in Melbourne is 4 p.m. Tuesday. No. Sunday.
Yeah, sorry, it'll be Sunday. It's the day before.
So apparently in Pacific time, 5 p.m. on Sunday. Because Tiddy's in the future. Oh, there you go. Darting it up.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Yeah, Monday, 11 a.m. Melbourne time. So I'll post on the Instagram to say, hey, here they are. So there'll be 2 different versions. As shown previously, I didn't bring them outside to come for a ciggy. Limited quantities. So if you do like what you see, grab them. I don't think I'll be doing, if I do sort of reproduce these ones, it'll probably just be like a couple of one-offs, and I doubt that I'll use the same like colors exactly. Probably won't be able to get the same pom-poms. So if you do like these ones, don't waste any time and definitely snag them on Monday at 11 a.m. Melbourne time.
And you did 3 of each or 5 of each, or?
So these ones I did 3 of each. I feel like maybe 6 is kind of like the magic number for drops. It seemed to be what was able to be moved last time. It also seems to be just like probably what I've got enough space for, and pretty achievable without feeling sort of too burnt out and without it feeling like too worky. So I think, yeah, moving forward, there's going to be sort of drops of 6. So there's only 3 each of each version. But yeah, they'll be 11 a.m. Monday. Hit the Etsy, snooze, you lose, get stickers. I'm off work for the next like week as well. So if they get snapped up on Monday, I'll get them posted out probably like Monday Arvo or Tuesday. Yeah, I think that's about all. And then, yeah, we've got that molded show coming up. I'll drop some toys into This Is Not a Toy Store as well. If anyone's in the Melbourne area, go check out This Is Not a Toy Store. They've just co-located with Video Days. So if you're into like physical media, videotapes, also lots of toys, not necessarily artist made, but like horror toys and shit, upstairs at This Is Not a Toy Store, go check it out. It is fucking sick.
Solid. Well, Tiddy man, I'm going to let these guys get on with their night. It's been an absolute pleasure, dude. Appreciate you as always. Peace
Thanks,
out, guys.
man. Thanks, everyone, for joining.